Oh man, I haven't done one of these videos in a while, so it's always fun when you get to do something that's really, really, really in your wheelhouse. And when I do these commissions where I get to turn people into superheroes, that's really fun. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to walk you through the process of just some of the things that I'm thinking when I'm turning a person into a superhero. And who better to do that project with than to show you who I've been working with, which is none other than the amazing DSmoovee Shabazz, the voice of the streets in St. Louis. So if you haven't seen him, yeah, check out his stuff.
Streets 105.1 DSmoovee, voice of the streets, aka Smooth Diddy, aka Ain't Nobody Smoother, aka Smoother Than Brown Liquor, aka the smoothest. Look, man, I got so many K's I forgot my own name, man. Y'all know who I am, you know what I do. DSmoovee, 2 O's, 2 E's with a V in the middle, straight simple like that. Tap in with me on IG, man, and make sure y'all subscribe to the YouTube channel, man. DSmoovee Shabazz. Look, man, y'all know, man, see, the intro says it all for me, man. I keep some of the dopest people in St. Louis with me, man.
Look at this, y'all. Got my new Snoop Dogg Funko Pop. Little glare on it, but just love. I collect these guys, so just really happy to have gotten this, and I'm super excited to bust this one open and get them set somewhere. But that's beside the point. Let's talk about turning people into superheroes. So the very first thing that you have to think about and consider, well, what I consider and think about anyway, is just the initial layout. And there's a few things that go into that. And the first thing that I think about when I'm coming up with these designs and everything like that is the actual pose of my character, my main character, which is whoever that will be. So in this case, since it's DSmoovee, I know that he's a real dynamic personality. He's really, basically, when the brother walks in the room, whole room gets like 100% brighter. That's just the type of energy that he brings. Even when he's interviewing people, he's just very energetic, very affable, very just outgoing, friendly, just that type of personality. So what I want to do is I actually want to bring that to the work that I'm trying to do. And poses are always kind of fun, annoying. They can cause issues because, you want to do something that's cool, but then you don't want to do something that just, you want something cool and dynamic. That's always the goal. And coming up with cool and dynamic poses is not always the easiest thing in the world to come up with. But I have some go-to poses that I go to. And then I also do things like I'll look up reference, be on Pinterest. If I don't feel like hopping in front of the camera and looking silly, I'll be on Pinterest looking at different things on Pinterest, just to try to find something that's cool, fits with the guy, fits with the person, and is dynamic and makes them, feel like a big deal. Because that's what you want in these covers. You want them to feel, you want the person, the client, to feel like a big deal. So coming up with that initial pose is always probably the hardest thing for me initially, and it's the thing I tackle first, because I want to at least know how they're standing and what they're looking like, and I can kind of build around them from there. So figuring out that initial pose for my subjects, number one on the top of the list of things that I want to do when I'm turning somebody into a superhero. So the other two things that I try to do when I'm coming up with that initial layout is I try to make sure that I'm nailing all of the character quirks of whoever my subject is. So if I notice they smile a certain way or they stand a certain way, I try to make sure I incorporate those quirks into the drawing itself. And then the other main concern I have is just the overall layout of the drawing. The overall flow, I guess, is the better way of saying it. So you got to have a good flow, and how I figured that out, it's kind of easy being in a city like St. Louis because we have the arch. So a lot of times you can just throw them downtown and throw the arch in the background. People love that, but try to find spots that are familiar to the people that you are working on, depending on where you live at in the country or in the world, and use monuments, landmarks, things like that. If you know they're from a certain part of the town and there's some really cool areas, include those areas, because that's what kind of gets the nostalgia going. And then also just figuring out, is it going to be day, is it going to be night, is it going to be super shadowy, is it going to be, all of those normal artistic things that you have to think about. But those are the things that I think about, and the kind of the in order of what I think about when I'm doing one of these projects and when I'm coming up with these layouts. Now, once I've got my layout taken care of and it's looking good and everything like that, then all I have to do is just lay down the inks. And basically, inking in Adobe Illustrator is just, using the paintbrush at 100% opacity. It's not really that hard. But what I will say is this: I use a custom brush that I made. That's the reason why I can get the kind of the line weights and all of those things that I get. So I think that's very important, that you use a custom brush and you make a custom brush. And I actually did a video about that. I'll link it around here somewhere. But I think that would really help. So making sure that you have a custom brush made if you're using Illustrator. Now, if you're using something like Clip Studio Paint or Clip Paint Studio, I never get the name right. Clip Studio, whatever it is. Clip, we just call it Clip. There are really good brushes in there already. So think about that. And if you're on Procreate, Apple products. Anyway, but if you're using Procreate on your iPad or something like that, well, I will say this: I like the Apple Pencil, and Procreate, it does look like it does some cool things. So, and they have cool brushes, and of course you can go to different people's Gumroads and stuff like that, and people have brushes for Clip Paint Studio and Adobe Photoshop and Procreate and any other drawing program that you can use. So what I would say is this: try out different brushes, find the one that works best for you, and then go through your digital inking process. And you really can't fail at that point. The one thing I will also say is that I always kind of keep my layouts a little flexible, so I can make changes it's not really keep them flexible. You just have to be open to being able to make changes as need be. Now, I have two different methods for making changes. Sometimes I'll just make changes while I'm inking because it's not that hard. Other times I may go back to the original layout layer and just make sure that I rough in whatever the change is so that I have a guide. And there's nothing wrong with it. I know we see people and it looks like they just can do it without, any kind of underdrawing, anything like that, which is cool. I'm not one of those people. So to make sure that my work comes out right, make sure that underdrawing is right, or I make sure I correct it so that it's right, then I go ahead and add in my digital inks. And at that point, that's when the work really comes out. Now, when it comes to the coloring phase of this project, well, my main concerns was just the lighting source and making sure that I got my colors right as far as clothing and things like that. I wasn't really too concerned about the skin tones, but I was worried about making sure I got the lighting right and just like making sure the colors on the clothing worked with the background that I had chosen. So it's very important when you're working on projects like this that you are thinking about the colors you're going to use, the lighting you're going to use, and what program you're going to be doing all of this in. Like I like to switch programs, so I went from did the colors in Illustrator, then I did some additional work in Photoshop to get some fades and shades the way that I wanted them to be. But I know some people don't like, most people, I'm a weirdo, most people don't like to do that. They like to stay in one program. So if you're in Procreate, Clip Studio, Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever program you're in, and you're probably going to stay there the whole time, then just consider that, or keep that consideration in mind while you're working on, or even before you even get to the coloring phase. More likely, start thinking about that when you're at the inking stage, because the colors are what's really going to make everything pop, make everything look good, and those are kind of things that you definitely want to have in mind before you get started, because if you have it in mind, you won't have as many errors. You know what I mean? You'll have a clear idea of where you want to go, what you want to do, and hopefully, for the most part, it should work. But even then, if it doesn't work, try to have a couple of ideas, a contingency in the back of your head, because that's what's ultimately going to get you through this type of project. And last but not least, you want to consider your final design options, which is basically like adding logos and how the final look of the work of art is going to be presented to your client. So in my case, what I'm doing now is I'm literally turning them into comic book covers. I've got a little box with the little comics code in the side, so I got that over there. I got the create a custom logo, and then I have like fantastic first issue or something like that, like I did for this particular project. And again, you kind of want to start considering that at the beginning of the project, but then it's when you start adding that, it's like baking a cake, right? You make the cake, the batter and all that type of stuff, but then you got to put the right icing on there, the decorations, and that's what this final stage is, just putting those final chef's kiss touches onto this artwork and then getting it output. So I already got it output and done, and I sent it over to the client. Client loved it, and the client being DSmoovee, he loved it. And now we're going to go ahead and get it shipped off to my printers over at Printful. If you don't know about Printful, we're going to talk about those guys in another video. But I shipped it off to Printful, and they should be getting it made into a lovely 18 by 24 canvas print. So again, this is something new that I'm doing, where now we're putting it on canvas so you can hang it on your wall. We're making a full comic book cover, and I just think that that is a cool way to present yourself, family, friends, on the walls of your household. And I just wanted to really walk you guys through the process of what I'm thinking when I'm changing people into superheroic characters or comic book style covers, and I just wanted you guys to kind of go through my thought process as well. So those are some of the things that I consider, and that's how we get it done. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notification button, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.